Okay, unsurprisingly, both teams are taking heavy radar bills. Des Moines, Moskva, Nevsky for BGNAV. Des Moines, 2 Petros and a Stalingrad for SHEN. Both teams taking a Kleber with a Shimikaze on SHEN and a Z52 on BGNAV. Pair of Kremlins in the game and Yamato facing Thunderer. That is almost it's not a mirror match, but it is just different enough to be interesting. So let's see what the teams do. Remember, easy to get into these control points, plenty of cover in them as well, but the trick is setting up your fire lanes and your support. Valiok and BB6565 are on an intersect course. Are we going to see Lude here? Yep. Avert your eyes, children. This stream is now officially X-rated. Uncharacteristic navigational error from BGNAV there. That's going to cost them a little bit of time just getting into their positions. Arumata having no such trouble in the Kleber, and yep, he's popped out the engine boost as well. So 55 knots to point C. Thing is, of course, that might actually really cost BGNAV because Valiok also popped his engine boost in the Kleber, also doing 55 knots, but because he lost that velocity from the collision, yeah, he's just that fraction of a second behind Arumata getting to the control point. Meanwhile, Seeds is running his Shimikaze up towards point A. The Des Moines of Amitov is moving into a radar blocking position on point B. Ditto Inafalasa to the south of point B. So point B, deadlocked. It's going to come down on this side, whoever dislodges the other side's Des Moines first. As far as heavy support goes, Hipskin is moving out to support the Hindenburg and the Stalingrad, and in turn backing up Seeds in the Shimikaze. Over on the north side, Maxriel is in the Nevsky with the Moskva of Hunter Marson. They've got the Kremlin of Saint-Tropez backing them up. BB6565 drops some suppressive torpedoes. Seeds is going to win the race into point A without any problems. And given the course that BB's got to take in order to avoid that island, it may actually be able to finish the cap before the Z52 gets there. However, over in point C, it's a bit more even. Both Klebers made it into the control point, but look at the difference in the timer. That is almost entirely down to that collision earlier on between the BGNAV destroyers. We're going to see proxy spotting here from the two Klebers, but there's a giant island in the way. Neither of them can do anything about it, so let the staring contest begin. As noted, the two teams can see each other's Kleber. It's just, well, what are you going to do about it? And the answer comes from the Des Moines. So Arumata takes some early hits from Amitov, and Valiok is taking early hits from Inofalasa. Both of them dive into the defilade. Valiok's got a slight cove here that he can work with, and Arumata doesn't have quite such a good cove, but he just gets the main bulk of the island in the way instead. So just check the viewpoints from Team Bravo and Team Alpha. Yep, they can see each other, and I suspect that the two fastest boats in the game, yikes, Arumata just poked out a bit too far though and got introduced to some SAP, are going to be having a bit of a staring contest for the next few minutes. Let's go see what's heading on elsewhere. Point B, as noted, deadlocked. Both sides know that there's a Des Moines on the other side. Neither side's going to put a destroyer in there to try to cap because, well, radar and then associated bad things would happen. So the scrap starts on point A. Now, the cap border is here. So at the moment, it's the Z52 of BB that's making a recap, actually. So Seeds got in first, flipped it, and then got forced out. Meanwhile, BB just flips it back and gives the advantage over to BGNAV. Geocruiser's trying to work around the left flank and dislodge him. Blackhawk is acting again as a radar block, but oh dear, Saint-Tropez is in blocking position opposite, and, well, he's got much bigger guns. On the other hand, he's also a much bigger target, so the high explosive starts flying. Both the Hindenburg and the Stalingrad are opening up on Saint-Tropez, and I think the Thunderer was having a go. Hips Guinness over there took a few shots, but he's taken more than a few shots in return. And given his angle, I think the Kremlin's 18-inch guns might have had themselves a bit of a party in his citadel. But Saint-Tropez backs up a little to try and get some cover. For all the good it does, more Hayeks comes in. Another salvo of AP comes out. Hips Guinness is remarkably exposed there, trying to get his forward guns in place. Port rudder heavy. A couple of overpens from the 18 inches. Shots went relatively high. Hayeks comes down from the Moskva. No fire started. Hayeks returns, splitting fire between Hunter Master and Saint-Tropez. Torpedoes running out from SHEN, also trying to dislodge Saint-Tropez, but he's backed up enough and they don't have the range. They didn't have the angle either. He'd managed to defilade at the cost of some of his fire angles. Kremlin fires 18-inch guns out towards Geo Cruiser again. Geo turned out to get his own forward guns into play. Takes a bit of a chunk, but nothing ends up in the citadel, which is what he was probably hoping for. Meanwhile, back in Point C, let's just check on the staring contest, shall we? Yep, they're still having a staring contest. So, meanwhile, Valenderista and Oxoboro are having a scrap. Interestingly, Valenderista just threw high explosive at the Des Moines. He may have been trying to get a permafire started, or at least force Oxoboro to back off enough that he can try to winkle his way around the side. He's also trying to clear the way for the Petropavlovsk of Liampa to advance. They just have to turn the corner long enough to get rid of Valiok without getting deleted themselves. And of course, BGNAV, well, they are. You would think they were trying to do the same to Aromata, but there's a problem. In order to get a good shot on Aromata, they're going to have to get worryingly close to a very angry Kremlin and to Petropavlovsk. So, yeah, when Point C breaks, it's going to break extremely quickly. Point B, however, has anyone got a pack of cards? Point A, let's see, BB's pushing his way around the corner. Point is still flipped, and it is scoring for BGNAV at the moment. So Seeds is going to try to work his way back in and get a shot. You can see he's in reverse. Classic King of the Sea 3-point cap procedure. Interestingly, BB has dropped one salvo of torpedoes out towards the Stalingrad's position. Now, why hasn't he dropped two? Maybe he just took some damage earlier. It's odd to see only one spread off the Z-52. However, Seeds will have seen those torpedoes, and Blackhawk is going to be easily able to turn the Stalingrad, find the gap between two of the fish, and just execute a 0-knot torpedo beat without even having to angle that much, although he does have at least 2 and possibly 3 fires burning. Maybe he either doesn't have damage from... Wow, okay, there we go, Oxoboro. When I told you Point C was going to break fast, I meant it. So, Aromata has moved out from his defilade. Dr. Yuk is trying to force Valiok around. They've lost the other Petropavlovsk in the process, but Dr. Yuk might be about to get enough of an angle to force Oxoboro off the point. However, Spectral 90 has come up in the Yamato. So at this stage, there we go. There's the corner turn from Aromata. Valiok goes down. So the staring contest is over. There are torpedoes running towards the Yamato. However, Aromata is going to have to turn hard to make an evasion here, and Dr. Yuk is paying hard for clearing that deadlock. He's got the Yamato, the Des Moines, and the Venezia all firing at him, and the Venezia is right out on his flank. And yet, here comes the armor piercing. 15 barrels of 8-inch. He's trying to angle against all of it. Takes 7,000 damage. Damage controls those fires. And I don't know whether he's going to be able to get out of sight before the Yamato fires. He didn't. 46 centimeter shells incoming, but what didn't hit the cliff went long. Dr. Yuk backs up in approximately a quarter of a Petropavlovsk, and Point C is now flipping. The deadlock has been broken, and it has broken in Shen's favour. Valinarista can't quite push in, so Arumata can now finish capping Point C. However, in order to do that, he's actually, yeah, there we go, he's run dangerously broadside, and it looks like we're now going to see an almost suicidal charge in to get torpedoes. That was unexpected. I would have thought if he was going to try for a torpedo run to dislodge Spectra or Oxoboro, he would have gone round this side of the island rather than in front of what he knew were active fire lanes for both boats. But that has cost both teams their Kleber, even if it does leave Shen in possession of Point C. Point B, meanwhile, is, yeah, definitely a pack of cards. Right, meanwhile, Seeds and BB are tangling. Seeds pops his smoke to avoid the Z-52's gun. Z is just in hydro range, but it's going to get forced out pretty sharpish. Another single torpedo launch from BB. Either he's being very conservative about his torpedoes, or, oh boy, maybe he doesn't need to be conservative. Two fish are in the water. Boom and boom. Seeds goes down. Wow. So, Shen lose both their destroyers in quick succession. They have now down 2 destroyers and a cruiser. BGNAV just down the 1 destroyer. They have still got their Z-52. Point A is under their control and uncontested. Point C is scoring for Shen, but Shen are taking a serious pounding in Point C. Valinrista taking focused fire from Spectral, Oxoboro, and the Venezia of the Vic. And this is the difference between the serious competitive teams and the more, I don't understand disparaging here, try or luck ones. We're seeing coordinated, focused fire from both teams. Vic, Spectral, and Oxoboro all coordinating their fire to leave Valinrista with basically nowhere to go. They're ignoring Dr. Yuke, as tempting a target as he might be. They're focusing on putting down the Kremlin, taking its 18-inch guns out of the equation, and then Spectra can just shove forwards and dispose of the Petropavlovsk in short order, and they can roll up that flank, but they've got to do it fast. Because if they let Shen get their momentum back, then they might be in for a nasty surprise. But it doesn't look like they're going to give Shen the opportunity. Focus fire remains on to Valinrista. Valinrista goes almost dead. And the Kremlin goes down, Oxoboro getting the kill with the Des Moines. So we're now going to see Spectral 90 pushing forwards into Dr. Yuk, and probably trying to dislodge the Des Moines of Thalassa as well. And that will break the game-long deadlock in Point B. At the moment, Thalassa and Almitov are just content to have a slugging match against each other. It looks as though the RNG may have favoured Almitov at this point. Thalassa is down significantly on health, and he is also taking crossfire. Blackhawk is trying to lock down Point A and keep BB pinned, but he's getting dangerously close to that Z-52. I wonder if BB is actually down a torpedo launcher. No, both launchers look operational. So I think he was deliberately only firing the one launcher at a time to make sure he always had something heavy in reserve. Blackhawk triggers his radar, gets position on BB. Radar counter from Max Reel locks down Blackhawk and Geo Cruiser with gunfire as well. So they're slugging it out one-on-one. However, back in Point C, Dr. Yuke is now feeling the pinch. He's defilated hard against Point C, but he has got an angry Yamato bow on. If he tries to charge forward, he's going to go broadside to Oxoboro. And he's got the Vic coming up from behind. So very definitely between the rock and the hard place. Mind you, there is a handy little beach cove there for the lifeboats. So Yamato's secondaries engaging Oxoboro. No hurry to go round that corner. He can just sit back and let the 18.1-inch guns of the Yamato do the job for him. And in fact, Oxo switching fire onto Thalassa to take an opportunistic flank shot there. The Thalassa backs up a bit too far in an effort to distract Spectral off, but oh dear, there goes Geocruiser in the Hindenburg, losing his duel with Max Reel. Shots down from Almatov into Thalassa. The Petropavlovsk goes down, Spectral getting the kill on Dr. Yuk, and there goes Thalassa's Des Moines as well. So all of a sudden, things have collapsed. 7-1 to BGNAV at President Shen. Unfortunately, when the deadlock broke, Shen were the ones on the losing side. And all that's left really is the mop-up. BB 6565 coming around the corner, playing Ring Around the Rosie with the Stalingrad. Of course, he does have 2 torpedo launchers, as best we can tell. So BB kicks a little bit wide and leaves Black Hawk with no good options. He either keeps going and broadsides that Kremlin, or he eats torpedoes from BB in the process. He does, however, manage to take out Hunter Master with one last broadside before the Kremlin of Saint-Tropez deletes him. Which just leaves poor old Hips Guinness in the centre of Point B. And in fairness, he was the only person to manage to make a cap attempt on Point B. Of course, he is also now broadside to a Yamato in front of an angry Des Moines. Oh yes, and probably about to explode. And hey, there's a Kremlin having a go as well. Just in case your day couldn't get any worse if you were on that Thunderer. High explosive comes in from the Des Moines. Oof, and gone. So, solid win to BGNAV.